What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining us on another FCP Euro DIY. Today we're going to be working on a 2017 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter Van 2500. Today on the Sprinter Van behind me, we're going to be covering how to do an engine oil service. In front of us we have some Liqui-Moly. This is some Top Tech 4600 5W30, which is great for diesel engines like the one in the Sprinter behind us, which is a 3-liter 6-cylinder. We have 12 liters of oil in front of us. We have an Hengst oil filter, which includes new O-rings, and we also added a new crush washer and drain plug for the oil pan. Now, Mercedes has a really high interval on these vehicles. It's something around 20,000 miles. Here, we are not really too fond of that. We're gonna do this. This is actually our events van every 5,000 miles, just because it's a little bit better for the engines, and B, if you're an owner of one of these rigs with the lifetime replacement guarantee, it makes it a little bit easier to do the intervals a little bit shorter than longer like recommended. And we like to think it'll give the engine a little bit more longevity, even though these things are pretty bulletproof. So again, we're gonna do this every 5,000 miles, but before we get started on this DIY, let's take a look at some of the tools we're gonna need to service this 3-liter V6. For this DIY, we have a small basic set of tools needed. Most importantly is gonna be a catch pan and a funnel. We also have a 13mm socket and a 3/8 drive ratchet. We also have a torque wrench so we can torque down the drain plug and the oil filter housing. We also have a small flathead screwdriver and pick that we're going to use to do the O-rings and remove our air box, just to give you a better view of what we're doing today. Not super necessary to remove the air box for the DIY, but it makes life a little bit easier. Oil filter housing tool, which is going to be linked in the description below, available on fcpo.com. And just a longer extension to help us give us some swing room for the torque wrench and the ratchet when we're doing the oil filter. Now with that, let's go ahead and get started on this DIY. All right, my good people, we are under the hood of the Sprinter. To get started, we're gonna work on opening up our oil fill cap and removing our oil filter just to allow everything to breathe and drain easier. To remove the oil fill cap, it's pretty straightforward. You just go ahead and twist the cap off. Now, if you're working outside and you're worried about stuff falling in here, you can go ahead and just kind of rest it loosely on there. That's gonna be fine. We're in the shop today, so we're gonna go ahead and just take that off. Then next on our list is gonna be to remove the oil filter. Now, this is pretty straightforward. You can opt to leave the box in place, the air box, or move it out of the way. If you wanna keep it in place, you can just pop it up from the 2 grommets that hold it in and then just reach in. For our purpose today and just videoing and giving you the best view possible, we're gonna remove the box. To do that, we have a hose clamp up here to undo. We're just gonna go ahead and loosen this up using a flathead screwdriver. And we're gonna disconnect our mass airflow sensor. Pretty straightforward connector. There's a little tab on either end. Those are the release tabs. You're just gonna wanna pinch them together and pull back. There we go. Coming down here, we have one more sensor going into the top of the air box. There's a little release tab on the back side of it. You can push that in and pull the plug out. There we go. Down here we have a little zip tie. It's just a going around a little metal clip, like a little alligator clip. So you can pull that down. Here's a better view of that alligator clip. We're just setting this to the side. Some of these rigs are equipped with this over here. There's a little release tab. You can't see it, but you can feel it from underneath. You're just gonna push it in towards the airbox a little bit, and it'll release it. You can tuck it over to the side. And from there, we're just gonna pop up on the grommets, undo our pipe over here, and just pull this towards us and set it to the side. Now with that off, you should have a nice clear view of your oil filter, which is located right here on the front in front of the power steering fill. We're just gonna take some shop towel and kind of situate it around the housing. Should we get any leakage when we pull the cap off, we'll be somewhat covered from making a huge mess. Just something like that. And we can take our oil filter housing removal tool, set that in there. I'm using a long extension, a 3/8 drive extension, just to give me some more swing room for my ratchet. That's gonna look something like that. Break this free. And now with that, that gives us a nice opening to our oil filter housing, which we can go a little bit more crazy, wipe down, get some of that old oil out, whatever you need to do. For now, we're gonna set this to the side in our catch pan. Now let's climb underneath and drain some oil. All right, my good people, under the rig, we have the drain plug for the oil pan on the driver's side of things. We have a 13mm plug. You can use a socket like this, like we're doing, or a wrench and get that off. We have our catch pan ready to go underneath. Make sure it is capable of holding all 12 liters of oil. The last thing you want to do is start draining the oil and not have a catch pan that is sufficient enough for the fluid. All right. Make sure also that your old crush washer comes off. In this case, I heard it fall into the pan, which is fine. We're going to be replacing this plug and crush washer anyway. So we'll give that all the time it needs to drain, and then we'll pick it back up with our new drain plug. All right, my good people, we've been here for 17 hours. We're going to go ahead and get our drain plug back in. Get that started by hand always. New crush washer is on there, ready to rock and roll. Always replace the crush washer whenever you're doing an oil change. Let me slide this catch pan out of the way, which is now very, very full. And then we're going to go ahead and snug up our drain plug. Again, 13mm socket. For those of you wanting to torque it, following along at home, we're going to torque this to 30 Newton meters. If you do not have a torque wrench, just snug it up gently. You don't need to gorilla this on. All we want to do is compress this copper washer just a little bit, and then it'll keep it from leaking. Now with our drain plug back in, let's head up top and fill it with some oil. Before we put our new filter in, we're going to go ahead and service the cap. There's 2 O-rings on here that we want to replace. First one is down here below. Pay attention to where the ring is. It's not at the very bottom of the cap. It has its own ridge dedicated to the seal so that when you put this back in the housing, it doesn't cause a leak. So we're going to go ahead and pull that one off using a small pick. Small flathead screwdriver works as well. We have one more O-ring here at the top. Same thing, we're going to go ahead and lose this one as well. All right. With both of those off, our oil filter comes with new ones. We have our top O-ring first. Go ahead and feed that over, just like that. Then if you take a look at the actual cap, you'll see the thicker channel in here. That's going to be for the O-ring that you're replacing. Get that situated in there. Get a little bit of oil on there, whether you use some of the oil from the oil filter housing, which is what we're going to do here, just to help it seal. Or you can use some of your fresh Liqui-Moly, whichever you like. Then we'll take our new oil filter, get that fed over. Now we can go ahead and feed it back into the engine. I'm just going to go ahead and feed this in by hand. Get this started by hand. You can pretty much tighten these to spec literally just by hand. They're only 25 Newton meters, which is pretty standard on most new vehicles these days that use a cartridge like that. But we do have the torque wrench out and we do have the proper tool. So we're going to go ahead and just torque it down properly. Get our tool situated on there. We're going to use an extension for this one just to give us some more swing room for the torque wrench. Set the torque wrench to 25 Newton meters. Beautiful. Now with that, we're just going to throw the air box back in. For those of you that didn't remove it, obviously you can skip this step. When feeding the air box back in, you'll notice there's these 2 little tabs coming off the back. These are what help key the box in place. If you look back here towards the firewall, we have 2 really big rubber grommets. Those are going to go just like that. So those plastic forks go around it. So once you get those situated, it'll help line everything up nicely. Just going to feed this in. Make sure we line both of those up. Pop that back into our grommet. Pop our tube back on. If this was equipped on your rig, slide this back in, it just clips into place. Now with that, we can swing over our electrical and get our hose clamps resituated. So with that, this comes over. You can see some of the bite marks where the alligator clip has lived. So we'll go ahead and get that back on there. Clip in our 2 sensors. Take our hose clamp, situate that with a flathead screwdriver. I'm just going to set this here for now. We're going to be coming back here to do an engine air filter soon. All right, and now with that, our air box is situated once more. We're going to go ahead and grab our oil funnel and fill this baby up with some oil. We have our funnel ready to rock and roll. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get our 12 liters going. If you're unsure of your rig taking all 12, be sure to maybe add 11.5. Run it for a few minutes, let it fully sit. That way the oil gets in the filter and everything. And then check your level with the dipstick. We've done it a few times on this van. She's happy with all 12 liters of oil, so we're going to be giving it all 12. And for those of you using Liqui Moly, remember that the oil change interval sticker is on the bottles. You can peel these off and stick them on your windshield so you know when the next time you need to do an oil change is. All right, with that, my good people, we're gonna go ahead and take our funnel off and we'll get our oil fill cap back on. Just gonna grab a little bit of paper down here, let this do this thing. So it drip everywhere. It's always nice to just give the oil cap a little wipe down, check the seal on it, make sure it still looks like it's in good shape. So now with our cap back on, we're gonna hop inside and cover how to do the reset on the dash. So let's do that now. All right, my good people, inside of the Sprinter, we're gonna go ahead and work on resetting the oil service reset. Ours is a pretty no frills model. We don't even have steering wheel controls. So we're gonna do the reset via the cluster. I'm gonna put the key in on position 2. We're not gonna start it. We're just gonna simply get all the lights to come on the dash. We'll give it a minute to do its thing. Once it's done that, we're gonna hit the O button down underneath the M button here on the left. Hold it for about 20 seconds or until you hear a beep. Once you hear the beep, you can release it. And now we're gonna press the M button for menu. And we're just gonna cycle through until we see a reset option. That's gonna be for our oil. Right there, reset. Once we see the reset on the screen, we're gonna go ahead and hold down the O button for another 3 seconds. Then once that pops up, we can hold it for another 3 seconds again, and we can let go, and the oil service has been reset. You can check that by turning the key on next time you see it. If it gives you an interval again, let's say you were at the end of the service life, it would give you the warning. Turn the key back on, that warning should be gone. Overall, pretty straightforward job on the Sprinter, my good people. For those of you using these as work rigs, these are good, good DIYs to know. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, leave those in the comment section below, or you want to see us do a specific DIY on this chassis. And if you like our DIYs and you want to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.